to News Channel 7. We'd like to wish you a happy Australia Day. And on behalf of us at History Channel, we'd like to remind you about our country's past.
We have had some pretty hard times in our path, but we persevered.
Once upon a time, in a land not so far away, lived an adventurer.
His name was Captain James Cook, a famous British navigator and explorer.
Cook discovered the southeastern part of Australia, and he later named that newly discovered land New South Wales.
But if I recall, that was only a smidgen of the eastern side of Australia.
Yes, New South Wales was one of the smallest land claims, but it did hold off other countries from claiming more land of Australia, at least temporarily.
As this map shows, the other countries weren't stopped. Every country on this map set up colonies and helped map the coastline of Australia.
Yes, others still did colonize, but British took a much larger section of land for themselves.
Everyone, we've reached land! Go find a hospitable shelter!
Good idea!
This land is terrible and infertile.
There's not even fresh water around here. We need to move to a better place.
Yeah, everyone, let's go north. That way.
There! They soon found a place to settle and used the resources Britain provided to set up towns and figure out what could be exported. They struggled with repaying their debt to Britain and bringing exports over to Britain until John MacArthur made a discovery.
John MacArthur showed the colonists the benefits of pure-breeded imported Spanish merino sheep.
It produced a high-quality wool that had been disregarded before, and MacArthur gave the new British colonies their first valuable export. This helped their colonies more and more each year, up until 1830 when they had 2 million sheep.
Wow. Australian colonies suffered through many troubles in the early days. For example, there were 4 men for every 1 woman. This gender gap would continue to impact Australia for more than 100 years. Because they weren't able to produce quick enough, that gave the country less people to work with.
This gap was caused in part by Australian colonies mostly being made up of convicts. Convicts were mostly men and used as a cheap source of labor for the colonizers, such as Britain.
Their home countries were happy to see them go. Also, in the colonies, they had useful skills for colonization because they were used to hard labor and hard times.
In 1830 to 1834, Aborigines were actually given food, clothing, and shelter to work for the British as slaves, and this was another form of very cheap labor.
In 1851, when gold was discovered, the rivers and creeks were full of it.
Word spread to people, and they flocked to find it and get rich.
They didn't know what they were getting into.
Gold actually only made very few people rich and brought disease and contaminated limited water supplies.
Fast forward to 1901. By now, the British control had grown, and Australia had organized into 6 British colonies. Britain granted independence to these territories on January 1st of 1901, creating the Commonwealth of Australia.
The Britain retained certain powers, but allowed people of Australia to manage their daily affairs. It wasn't until March 3rd, 1986, that Australia gained full independence.
The effects of colonization could still be seen in the Commonwealth. Urban growth caused Australia's Aboriginal population to suffer. They used to be hunter-gatherers, but that lifestyle could not continue.
Traditional ways of living and obtaining food have been left behind, ruining future generations.
This has caused the knowledge of our ancestors' original culture to disappear. We hope that you can help hold on to heritage and keep values of our ancestors so they aren't forgotten.
On behalf of all of us here at News Channel 7, we wish you a happy Australia Day.